The Fall. A New Beginning. Olivia Bennet stood before the towering gates of Stirling Manor, her canvas bag gripping her shoulder with the weight of everything she owned. The October morning carried a chill that made her pull her second-hand coat tighter. She had ridden 2 buses from her cramped studio in Brooklyn, watching the neighborhoods transform from crowded streets to tree-lined avenues where wealth whispered from every corner. At 24, Olivia had learned that survival meant taking whatever opportunities appeared, even if they felt impossibly out of reach. The intercom crackled to life before she could press the button. "State your name and business." The voice belonged to someone who guarded this world carefully. "Olivia Bennet from Premier Home Services. I am the new housekeeper." The gates swung open silently, revealing a cobblestone path that wound through manicured gardens. Everything here existed in perfect order, so different from the chaos of her previous life. The mansion rose before her like something from a magazine spread. White stone columns reached toward the sky, and windows gleamed with a clarity that suggested they had never known dust. Olivia climbed the front steps, her worn shoes clicking against marble that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. A woman in a severe black suit waited at the entrance, her expression suggesting that smiling was against company policy. Rules of the Manor. Margaret Foster introduced herself as the estate manager, her tone leaving no room for familiarity. "You will address Mr. Stirling as Sir during the rare occasions he speaks to you. Your job is to maintain this household without being noticed. Efficiency matters here, not personality. Do you understand?" Olivia nodded, swallowing the questions that rose in her throat. She followed Margaret through hallways where abstract paintings hung like silent judges, their value evident in every brushstroke. Her quarters occupied a small room in the staff wing, simple but comfortable compared to what she had left behind. A narrow window overlooked gardens that bloomed even in autumn, tended by hands she would never see. Olivia unpacked her few belongings with care, placing a photograph of her late mother on the nightstand. Her mother had worked in houses like this one, always invisible, always grateful. Olivia had promised herself something different, but here she was, following the same path. The first days blurred together in a rhythm of cleaning and silence. She polished floors that reflected clouds, dusted furniture that belonged in museums, and changed linen softer than anything she had ever slept on. The other staff members moved through their duties with quiet efficiency, speaking only when necessary. Olivia learned to navigate the mansion like a ghost, present but never acknowledged. The man behind the empire. Nathan Stirling remained a distant figure during those initial weeks. Olivia saw him in passing, always with a phone pressed to his ear, always moving with purpose that left no room for casual observation. At 36, he had built Stirling Technologies from a college project into a global force, turning innovative software into billions of dollars. The business magazines in the library detailed his ruthless negotiation tactics and his refusal to let personal matters interfere with success. But Olivia noticed things the magazines never mentioned. She saw the tension in his shoulders when he returned from board meetings, the way he worked past midnight in his study while the rest of the house slept. Untouched dinner trays appeared outside his office door with regularity. Despite commanding an empire and living in this palace, Nathan Stirling seemed profoundly alone. 3 weeks into her employment, Olivia was arranging fresh flowers in the main hall when she overheard a phone conversation. Nathan stood near the window, his voice tight with frustration. "I built this company on logic and discipline. Emotions are luxuries I cannot afford." The person on the other end said something that made his jaw clench. "My father made decisions based on feelings and lost everything. I refuse to repeat his mistakes." When lightning strikes. The evening that changed everything arrived without warning. A massive storm knocked out power across the city, and even Stirling Manor's backup generators struggled against nature's fury. Olivia had been instructed to light candles throughout the house, creating islands of warmth in the darkness. She was arranging votives in the library when Nathan entered, a crystal glass of whiskey in his hand. She moved toward the door, but his voice stopped her. Stay. I need the light to reach the shelves. His tone carried a weariness she had never heard before. Olivia continued her work silently, hyper-aware of his presence. Rain battered the floor-to-ceiling windows with a violence that matched her suddenly racing heartbeat. Nathan stood watching the storm, his reflection ghost-like in the glass. Do you ever feel imprisoned by your own choices? The question emerged so quietly that Olivia almost missed it. She paused, considering whether to answer honestly or safely. Every single day, sir. He turned to face her, really looking at her for the first time since she had arrived. What imprisons you? Poverty. Circumstance. The belief that I should accept whatever life hands me without fighting for something better. But I am working to change that. Crossing the line. Something shifted in Nathan's expression, vulnerability breaking through the armor he wore so carefully. I was taught that caring makes you weak. That emotions cloud judgment and destroy empires. I have built everything on that principle. Olivia met his gaze without flinching. And has it made you happy? The question hung between them like the candle smoke drifting toward the ceiling. Nathan set down his glass and crossed the space between them with 3 long strides. He stopped close enough that Olivia could see the storm reflected in his gray eyes, close enough to smell the whiskey on his breath mixed with expensive cologne. No, he whispered. I am not happy. I have not been happy in longer than I can remember. The kiss happened like the lightning outside, sudden and inevitable. Olivia knew she should pull away, should remember the rules Margaret had outlined so carefully, should recognize the impossibility of this moment. But Nathan's touch carried a gentleness that contradicted his reputation, a searching quality that spoke of loneliness matching her own. For once, Olivia let herself be seen rather than invisible. They moved through darkened hallways to his private quarters, the storm providing cover for choices neither would defend in daylight. The night unfolded in whispered confessions and desperate touches, 2 isolated people finding temporary refuge in each other. Nathan held her like she mattered, like she was more than hired help, like she was someone worth knowing. Olivia felt beautiful and valued in ways she had never experienced. The morning after. Dawn arrived with cruel clarity. Olivia woke alone in sheets that cost more than her monthly rent. A note rested on the pillow beside her, the handwriting sharp and decisive. This was a mistake that cannot be repeated. You will receive 2 months' severance pay. Please vacate the premises by noon today. The words struck like physical blows, each one confirming what Olivia had known deep down but chosen to ignore. She dressed with shaking hands, humiliation burning through her chest like acid. How foolish she had been to imagine that one night of vulnerability meant something real. To Nathan Sterling, she represented nothing more than a lapse in judgment, a problem to be solved with money. Olivia had let herself believe she was seen, but she had only been used. Margaret waited in the staff quarters with an envelope thick with cash. A car has been arranged to return you to Brooklyn. No explanation was offered, none was needed. Olivia took the envelope but kept her dignity. She walked out through the front entrance rather than the servant's door, her head high despite the shame threatening to drown her. The truth revealed. Back in Brooklyn, Olivia rebuilt her routine through sheer determination. She found work cleaning dental offices during early morning hours, waited tables during lunch rushes, and took an evening shift at a grocery store. The days blurred together in exhaustion, and she pushed memories of Nathan Sterling into a locked corner of her mind where they could not hurt her. 6 weeks after leaving Sterling Manor, Olivia's body delivered news she had been trying to ignore. The pregnancy test showed 2 clear pink lines that refused to disappear no matter how many times she blinked. She sat on her bathroom floor, arms wrapped around her knees, and let reality crash over her in waves. She carried the child of a man who had discarded her like garbage. The options before her felt impossible in different ways. She could disappear completely, raise this baby without ever telling Nathan the truth. Or she could give him the information he deserved, even knowing he would probably reject them both. Olivia chose honesty, not because she expected anything from Nathan, but because her child deserved to know their mother had tried. She returned to Stirling Manor on a grey November morning, the gates seeming even more forbidding than before. The intercom voice tried to dismiss her, but Olivia insisted the matter required immediate attention. Face to face. Margaret appeared with ice in her eyes and steel in her voice. "Mr. Stirling has no desire to see you. Whatever scheme you are running will not work here." "Then he can hear this through the door," Olivia said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I am 2 months pregnant with his child. He deserves to know the truth, whether he wants to hear it or not." 20 minutes passed before Nathan appeared, looking annoyed and guarded. "What do you want? Money? A payoff to keep quiet?" His tone carried the coldness she remembered from that final note. Olivia's hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach. "I want nothing from you. But I thought you should know you are going to be a father." His expression shifted from annoyance to disbelief to anger in rapid succession. "How convenient. One night together and suddenly you show up claiming pregnancy. Do you think I am that stupid?" "I think you are cruel," Olivia replied quietly. "But I also think you deserve the truth. I am keeping this baby regardless of what you do. I came here because it was the right thing to do, not because I need anything from you. If this is some scheme for money or attention, my lawyers will destroy you." Nathan's voice carried the ruthlessness that built empires and crushed competitors. Olivia felt tears threatening but refused to let them fall in front of him. "You already destroyed me once, Nathan. I will not give you that power again. This baby is mine. You can deny it, ignore it, pretend we do not exist. But someday, when your child asks about their father, I will tell them the truth. That you were too afraid to love anything you could not control." She turned and walked away from Stirling Manor for what she believed was the final time, leaving Nathan standing in his fortress of wealth and isolation. The gates closed behind her with a sound like a vault ceiling shut, separating two worlds that should never have touched. The struggle. 3 years later. The morning sun filtered through thin curtains in the small apartment Olivia had transformed into a home. 3 years had reshaped her from a frightened young woman into a mother whose love knew no bounds. She moved quietly through the kitchen, preparing breakfast while her daughter still slept. The apartment occupied the second floor of an old building in Astoria, modest but clean, filled with second-hand furniture and handmade decorations that spoke of care rather than money. Lily Rose Bennett had entered the world on a rainy April morning, her powerful cry announcing a spirit that refused to be ignored. Now at 3 years old, she possessed her mother's warm smile and determination, but her eyes belonged entirely to her father. Those striking gray eyes sparkled with intelligence and mischief, seeing wonder in everything around her. Lily loved collecting rocks from the park, insisted on wearing her favorite purple dress every Tuesday, and had recently decided that dinosaurs were the most important thing in the entire universe. Olivia worked 3 jobs to keep their small world turning. Before dawn, she cleaned medical offices while the city still slept. During the day, she staffed the reception desk at the Riverside Community Center, answering phones and greeting visitors with the warmth that came naturally to her. At night, after Lily fell asleep, Olivia took online bookkeeping courses, building skills that might someday lift them beyond survival mode. Money remained perpetually tight, but love filled every corner of their lives. Questions about family. Lily sat at their small kitchen table, swinging her legs as she demolished a stack of pancakes. "Mama, why don't I have a daddy like Emma from preschool?" The question arrived with the casual innocence of childhood, but it pierced Olivia's heart nonetheless. She had known this conversation would come eventually, had rehearsed answers in her mind countless times. Olivia sat down beside her daughter, brushing a strand of dark hair from those gray eyes. "You do have a daddy, sweetheart. He lives far away and has a very different life from ours. But you have me, and I love you enough for 2 parents. Does that make sense?" Lily considered this seriously, her small face scrunching in concentration. Does he know about me? Yes, he knows. But sometimes grown-ups make choices that are hard to understand. What matters is that you are loved completely and forever. Lily seemed satisfied with this answer, returning her attention to breakfast with the resilience of childhood. But Olivia felt the weight of that conversation long after. She had never spoken badly of Nathan to their daughter, refusing to poison Lily's heart with bitterness. Whatever Nathan had done to her, Lily deserved the chance to form her own opinions if they ever met. Though Olivia guarded against that possibility with fierce determination. An unexpected opportunity. October arrived with crisp air and falling leaves that Lily loved to crunch beneath her sneakers. Olivia was sorting bills at the community center when her supervisor approached with an unusual request. The center was coordinating staff for a charity gala at Manhattan General Hospital, supporting the new pediatric research wing. The event needed additional workers for the evening, and the pay exceeded what Olivia normally earned in a week. I know it is short notice, but you are one of our most reliable people. Would you be interested? Olivia's mind raced through logistics. The gala fell on a Saturday evening when her neighbor usually watched Lily anyway. The extra money could cover Lily's preschool fees for the next month with enough left over for new winter boots. How could she refuse? That Saturday evening, Olivia dropped Lily at their neighbor's apartment. Mrs. Chen adored the little girl and welcomed her with homemade cookies and promises of cartoons. Lily hugged her mother tightly. You look pretty, Mama. Olivia smoothed down the simple black dress she had borrowed from a coworker, feeling self-conscious but grateful. Thank you, baby. Be good for Mrs. Chen. I will be home before bedtime. The hospital ballroom had been transformed into something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbows across white tablecloths, and arrangements of white roses filled the air with delicate perfume. Women glided past in gowns that cost more than Olivia's annual rent, their jewelry catching the light like captured stars. Men in tailored tuxedos discussed business deals over champagne that probably exceeded her monthly grocery budget. Olivia worked the coat check with practiced efficiency, accepting fur stoles and designer jackets with the same invisible service she had perfected years ago. She moved through this world without being part of it, present but unacknowledged. The irony was not lost on her. She had escaped one mansion only to serve in ballrooms filled with the same type of people who had dismissed her. She was carefully hanging an expensive coat when a voice from her past froze her in place. Table 12 requires the champagne chilled to exactly 42 degrees. See to it immediately. Nathan Sterling stood 15 feet away, speaking to an event coordinator with the same commanding tone she remembered. He wore a perfectly tailored tuxedo that emphasized his broad shoulders and confident bearing. His dark hair showed more silver at the temples now, and new lines framed those gray eyes. He looked older, harder, more untouchable than her memories had painted him. The moment of recognition. Olivia's instinct screamed at her to hide, to disappear into the crowd before he noticed her presence. But she forced herself to stand tall, chin lifted with the dignity she had fought to reclaim. She had survived his rejection. She had built a life for herself and their daughter. She had nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to hide from. As if sensing her gaze, Nathan turned. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom, and recognition flashed across his face like lightning. Surprise registered first, followed by something Olivia could not quite identify. Confusion? Regret? He took a step in her direction, but a woman in a crimson dress materialized at his side, looping her arm through his possessively. The woman laughed at something, drawing Nathan's attention back to the glittering crowd. Olivia returned to her duties, heart hammering against her ribs. She had prepared herself for the possibility of seeing Nathan again someday, had rehearsed calm responses in her mind. But the reality of his presence shook her more than she wanted to admit. After 3 years of raising their daughter alone, of struggling and sacrificing and building a life from nothing, seeing him in his element reminded her of everything that separated their worlds. Confrontation on the terrace. An hour later, Olivia stepped onto the terrace for a brief break. The October evening carried a chill, but the fresh air felt necessary after the stuffy warmth of the ballroom. She checked her phone for messages from Mrs. Chen, smiling at a photo of Lily building an elaborate block tower. Her daughter's face shone with concentration and joy, so beautiful it made Olivia's chest ache. Jessica. No, wait. Olivia. The voice came from behind her, and she turned slowly to find Nathan standing in the doorway. He had come alone this time, his expression unreadable in the dim light. Mr. Sterling, she replied coolly, keeping her voice steady. I hope you are enjoying the event. Please, we need to talk. I need to know the truth. Olivia felt anger rise in her throat like bile. The truth? You made it very clear 3 years ago that you had no interest in the truth. You called me a liar and threatened to destroy me. What could you possibly need to know now? He moved closer, and she caught the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with the autumn air. Were you really pregnant? Did you have my child? The truth emerges. The question hung between them, heavy with implications that neither could fully control. Olivia looked at this man who had dismissed her so cruelly, who had accused her of scheming, who had chosen his fortress of wealth over even the possibility of connection. Part of her wanted to lie, to protect Lily from ever knowing a father who had rejected her before she was born. But Olivia had built their life on honesty, and she would not abandon that principle now. Yes, she said quietly but firmly. I was telling the truth. I had your daughter. Her name is Lily Rose, and she just turned 3 years old. She loves dinosaurs and the color purple and collecting rocks from the park. She asks questions about everything and has a laugh that makes strangers smile. She is brilliant and beautiful and perfect, and you have absolutely no right to know anything more than that. Nathan's face drained of color, his usual composure cracking. Why did you not insist? Why did you not take me to court for child support? Force me to acknowledge her? Olivia laughed, but the sound carried no humor. Because I have pride. Because I did not want your money. I wanted my daughter to grow up knowing she was loved and wanted, not that she was a legal obligation or a scandal to be managed with lawyers and payoffs. She continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. I chose to raise her alone rather than fight a man who made it abundantly clear he wanted nothing to do with us. I work 3 jobs to provide for her. We live in a small apartment and count every dollar, but Lily knows she is loved completely. That matters more than anything your wealth could provide. A desperate request. Nathan ran his hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered from years ago. I want to see her. Meet her. I have a right to know my own daughter. Olivia felt protective fury surge through her veins. A right? You surrendered any rights when you accused me of lying and threatened legal action. You had 3 years to wonder, to search, to care. You chose not to. Things were complicated. I was not in a place to be a father. His excuses fell flat, echoing in the night air without finding purchase. Olivia stepped closer, her voice low and intense. I was not in a place to be a mother either. I was 24 years old, working as a housekeeper, with no family and barely any savings. But I figured it out because I had to. Because I loved our daughter before she was even born. She paused, letting the words sink in. You do not get to decide 3 years later that you suddenly want to be involved. Lily has a life, a routine, a sense of security. I will not let you disrupt that because you are feeling guilty or curious or whatever this is. But I am different now. I have changed. Nathan's voice carried a desperation she had never heard from him. People can grow. Standing firm. Olivia studied his face, searching for sincerity but finding only the same man who had dismissed her with a note and cash. Maybe you have changed. But that does not erase the past or give you automatic access to our daughter. If you truly care, if this is more than guilt or ego, then you need to prove it over time. Not with money or demands, but with genuine respect for what Lily needs. Nathan opened his mouth to respond, but voices drifted from the ballroom as other guests sought fresh air. Olivia took the opportunity to step past him, back toward her duties and the world where she belonged. "Wait, please. Give me a way to contact you. We need to discuss this properly." She paused without turning around. "If you truly want to be part of Lily's life, you will respect my boundaries. I will think about whether contact is even possible. But right now, I need to get back to work. Some of us cannot afford to neglect our responsibilities." The long night. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Olivia moved through her duties mechanically, her mind replaying the terrace conversation in endless loops. Nathan had looked genuinely shocked by the news of Lily, genuinely affected by the revelation. But Olivia had learned the hard way that momentary emotions meant nothing compared to consistent action. She caught glimpses of him throughout the night, always surrounded by important people, always engaged in conversations that probably involved millions of dollars. The woman in the crimson dress remained at his side frequently, though Olivia noticed Nathan's attention seemed elsewhere. Several times she felt his gaze on her, but she refused to look back. When the event finally ended, Olivia collected her payment and changed back into her own clothes with relief. She rode the subway back to Astoria, watching the neighborhoods transform from glittering wealth to comfortable working-class reality. This was her world, where people struggled and survived and found joy in simple things. This was where Lily belonged, protected from the cold perfection of places like Sterling Manor. Mrs. Chen reported that Lily had been an angel, falling asleep during the second cartoon. Olivia carried her sleeping daughter up the stairs, tucking her into bed with gentle care. She sat beside Lily for a long time, watching her sleep, those gray eyes hidden behind delicate lids. What would Nathan think if he saw her like this? Would he recognize himself in her features? Would he feel the overwhelming love that Olivia felt every single moment? New complications. The following days brought an unexpected delivery. A courier arrived at the community center with an envelope addressed to Olivia. Inside, she found a handwritten letter on expensive stationery. Nathan's distinctive handwriting filled the page with words that seemed carefully chosen. He apologized for his initial reaction 3 years ago, acknowledged his cruelty and cowardice, and expressed genuine desire to know his daughter. The letter included his private phone number and email address, along with a request that she consider allowing supervised visits. He made no demands, offered no money, simply asked for the chance to prove he had changed. Olivia read the letter 3 times, searching for manipulation or hidden agendas. But the words seemed sincere, vulnerable even. That evening, after Lily fell asleep, Olivia sat at their small kitchen table and composed a response. She wrote about Lily's personality, her interests, her bright spirit. She explained that any involvement would need to happen slowly, always putting Lily's emotional well-being first. She made clear that trust would need to be earned through consistent, reliable action over time. And she warned that if he hurt their daughter the way he had hurt her, she would make sure he regretted it. The email sat in her drafts folder for 2 days before Olivia finally hit send. She had no idea if she was making the right choice, if opening this door would bring healing or heartbreak. But Lily deserved the chance to know her father if he was truly willing to be present. Olivia would guard her daughter's heart fiercely, but she would not deny Lily the possibility of a relationship based solely on past pain. 3 days later, Nathan's response arrived with a single sentence that carried weight beyond its brevity. "Thank you for giving me this chance. I will not waste it."